Hi, everyone, and welcome to Unlocking the Marketing Copilot Growth Formula. I'm your host today, Marie Weiss, and today we're going to be unveiling a really exciting thing that Marketing Copilot has been working on for a while now, and we're going to hopefully be able to deliver a lot of content to you in the next 30 minutes. So I'm going to jump right into Apologies if I just jumped out of there for a second. I don't know where I found you today, but I want to let everybody know that I'm sitting in a very snowy place and looking forward to spring and summer, and I hope you are as well. And I hope you're looking forward to jumping into 2024 now, even though we're partway in, and starting to use our growth formula. I am Marie Weiss, and I'm the CEO of Marketing Copilot. I'm very proud to be an MVP for Microsoft in AI. And at Marketing Copilot, we've been working, close to 20 years now to help people improve their marketing, improve their revenue. And so what we're unveiling today is a labor of love from the last, I'd say 24 months as we've been working on this formula. I want to take a minute and talk about what we're seeing as far as the customer acquisition landscape goes. And I think everybody would agree that they're finding the cost of sales is going up dramatically. And in the last 24 months, we spoke with 150 founders, CEOs, and sales executives in technology companies, specifically business-to-business companies. And we've had a chance in the last 24 months to work with 25 companies to execute campaigns. And we've been testing for the last 12 months Copilot AI capabilities in conjunction with sales and marketing. And so today you're going to hear and see where we've arrived with all of this. These are our top findings. And as I mentioned, the cost of sales has dramatically increased from 2020 to today. There might be a bunch of reasons why this is happening. It could be that we all became digital natives overnight during the pandemic, but as we came out of the pandemic, we realized the efforts that had to be put back into not just doing digital marketing, but really connecting with people and understanding who was in our database and who were prospects to use our products and services. Prior to 2020, I think as a marketer, I would see that 5 to 7 touches through email or some type of online outreach was starting to generate interest. But what I'm now hearing and what I'm now seeing is we're up to 21 to 30. And this is likely the reason why the cost of sales is really starting to go up. Buyers are demanding more content from us, more specific content to their business problems. And I think that buyer demand is suggesting that the techniques from just 5 years ago are not working. And so this is why we sat back at the end of 2023 and said, we've come through a really interesting 24 months. What did we learn? And how can we shape this formula and turn some things on their head so that business-to-business owners are feeling like they're in control of their customer acquisition strategies? Right now, we think the stakes are very high for business-to-business companies because your competitive advantage in the marketplace is starting to diminish. It's starting to get really cluttered and crowded out there online. More time and money, and particularly your precious resources, need to be put into lead generation and lead management. And companies that don't work hard at this right now, right this minute in 2024, we don't think are going to be around in the next 5 years. And I know that's a sad statement, but we've even seen it in terms of our own business and why we've worked so hard to figure out what the new formula needs to look like. And that's when we came up with this formula. It's what we call a heuristic. And this formula for B2B companies is 1B times the sum of 3T times 3A plus 3P plus 3I plus 3E equals IR, increased revenue. But what does all of this mean? We're going to break it down for you, and we want to start here. Let's start in the first box and explain how we got to this formula. B stands for a documented buyer persona. And if you've been around some of our webinars in the past, you've heard Marketing Copilot talk a lot about the importance of documenting your buyer persona. This formula needs to be multiplied for each buyer persona in your organization. And a buyer persona, just to quickly recap, is not an industry category, it's not a demographic, and it's not even a job title. It's a precise articulation of the problems, success factors, and obstacles your buyer is challenged with in making a purchasing decision. So for every buyer persona that you might have in your organization, you need to take this formula and multiply it by each one of those personas. And we're going to give you some examples in a minute, so we'll help you understand how that works. Here's our example who might be the director of IT. That might be somebody that is a buyer persona that you're selling to. Now remember, if they're a director of IT and they have a full-time position in an organization, it's not the business owner wearing multiple hats, and IT needs to be one of them, and it's not the CIO. They're going to have very different problems. They're going to be responsible for upgrading old systems. They're going to be responsible for creating a footprint for growth using technology. They might also be very tasked with improving data management and creating a data management strategy. And we know everyone is struggling today with cybersecurity and really getting pushed to their limits around how security and data gets managed in an organization. The more data we have today to work with, which is a great thing, the more complex it becomes to manage it. So this is how we broke down as an example the priorities for a director of IT. So if we take that persona, the next thing we want to look at are buying triggers, 3 buying triggers. What does not matter to your prospects? What you do doesn't matter to your prospects, but the problem you're solving does matter, and how you solve it specifically for them is what they care about. So if we take that example of our director of IT, they want to eliminate manual processes in their organization. They want to do self-service for customers. They want to allow customers to come in on a portal and be able to do self-service, and they want to find new revenue streams. So we take the persona and what they're trying to do, and now we're going to look at the T as triggers. Those triggers are really important. What's getting them into a buying cycle? The next thing we want to do is attributable touch points. Now here I want to just take a minute and talk about Gartner's report from last year that told us 83% of the buyer journey is happening online. And that's oftentimes not attributable, meaning that we can't track and measure it. We don't know what buyers are doing before they contact us, making only 17% of the buyer journey aware to the organization and to the salesperson. So this creates a real challenge for marketers. And this is why marketing automation is so important. I think we have our friends Influence on the call today. And I know that as we've been working on Dynamics 365 as a CRM, we know they're a really important tool for marketing automation. So if we took that director of IT and we targeted messaging on LinkedIn to drive clicks to the website, then that would be one attributable touch point that we could look at. Maybe then we trigger an offer on the website, which would be a second attributable touch point that we might be able to put them into a workflow. And then in that workflow, we would track the level of engagement to see if they are actually interested. Because today, we don't care that much about MQLs. Anybody can generate a name. What we care about is the quality of that name and how engaged they are in what we have to offer. So we want those attributable touch points so we'll be able to track and measure later on if what we're doing is working. So let's visualize this. We've got our documented buyer persona, and then we have 3 buying triggers. Each of those triggers needs an attributable touch point, of which we can track and measure in our marketing automation system or in our CRM. Because this is the only way we're truly going to get to understand if what we're doing in marketing is actually driving revenue for our organization. So the next part of this heuristic is 3P plus 3I plus 3E. And this is how we get to the IR of increased revenue. So now if we look at the P, we've found in the last 24 months that when we reach out to partners in the industry, in our industry, who don't necessarily compete with us, but have something to offer similar to our ideal buyer persona, that we can partner and co-market with those people. We can create content with a combined pool of subject matter experts. We can share lists of both companies as we're pushing out information. And we can create a broader network on LinkedIn, which I'm sure everyone on this call today who's a business-to-business marketer knows the most important tool for us is LinkedIn, whether we like it or not. Other social media platforms we've discovered in the last 3 years fail to produce measurable results for organizations like Facebook, Instagram, all of those things. Unless we have a highly visual product or service, or we're selling something from a consumer perspective, we find that LinkedIn is really the only platform that's driving measurable results for organizations. The I in the formula, 3I, are 3 company influencers that we can find who we can share their content, promote them, reach out to their audience, because people want to buy from people, not companies. And the number one place they go to learn about somebody is LinkedIn. So I think we want to have those people who are willing to share our content, acknowledge who we are, and in return, we do the same for them. It's not enough to like a post on LinkedIn anymore. It's about engagement. And you have to truly take the time to understand what people are talking about and how relevant their content is to your audience. And you're needing to do that on a daily basis in a tool like LinkedIn. The E in this formula stands for events. This could be a webinar, this could be a conference, this could be a podcast. But these types of events are time-based, they're time-sensitive, meaning we are working towards a date in the calendar. And this is really important because what I find and have found in my 30 years of marketing is that we talk about things that we think are important to do from a marketing perspective, and then we don't execute in a timely manner. When we have an event of some kind, it forces us to that point in time and allows us to put a real target in place for building new content, building new messages, finding out what types of content our buyers are interested in. So we highly encourage you to create these events as part of your overall solution. Now, when we add it all together, we've got 1B times the sum of 3T times 3A plus 3P plus 3I plus 3E. That will stand for increased revenue in an organization. So here's a little map we've used to help you visualize very simply how you would put your blueprint together in a one-page document. This map encompasses some of the data required for a single buyer persona. So you want to create one of these maps for every buyer persona you might have in your organization. And for each additional buyer persona, you're going to want to identify their process and their triggers, and you would create a different profile for them. So this is how we pull it all together, and you're welcome to download this document and the growth formula, which we're going to give you a QR code for at the end of this session. And what we're going to allow you to do is give you a template to build your own and fill in your own formula. For any recipe to work, you need the right ingredients. And at Marketing Copilot, we've talked about this for a long, long time. You need a compelling value proposition that cuts through the clutter. You need a documented buyer persona so you understand their triggers and their obstacles and their reason for buying something. And we strongly, strongly advise that for this to work, you need a marketing automation tool aligned with your CRM. It doesn't matter what CRM you're using, and it really, at the end of the day, doesn't matter what marketing automation tool you put in, but it needs to be aligned with that sales database. Otherwise, you won't be able to point out to your CEO, here's the activities we took, and here's how they drove revenue for the organization. We've talked a lot at Marketing Copilot about aligning sales and marketing, and it's a topic we've been out on the road talking about now for the last 12 months. But to really put it into practice, these are the things you need. So I often get asked this question by people. How long does this take to pay off? Because a lot of people don't want to do this heavy lifting. They feel they're looking for a silver bullet. And let me tell you, in today's marketplace and what we've seen in the last 24 months, you have to have a plan, you have to put it in place, and you need to work it hard for 12 months. In the first 90 days, what we've learned by working with clients on this process is that you'll understand the velocity of your value proposition pretty quickly. Are people responding to it? Are you getting the feedback that you're looking for? In 180 days into your program, you'll be measuring sales qualified leads, not just MQLs, because you'll be applying workflows around the things that you're providing an offer on. And you'll be starting to understand the engagement level on those buying triggers that you identified in your formula. And we believe that in 360 days, your program should be able to measure revenue. And we think this is very important as you're aligning the right people, processes, and technology. You will be able to see revenue, and you will be able to see how strong or unfortunately how weak your pipeline really is. So here's a couple of goodies. We always like to share goodies in our sessions. We have our tool, Marketing Copilot AI, that tells you the velocity of your value proposition. Please snap this QR code. You don't have to put in any personal information. The only thing you have to add is your website URL, and you're able to get an understanding of what your value proposition looks to the average person online today. Snap that QR code. It'll take you right to our tool, What's My Value Proposition? And I think, as I mentioned, this is the most important place to start when it comes to putting the formula in play. Why is this so important in 2024? What are the stakes? Well, your competitive advantage in the marketplace is going to be severely diminished if you don't have a crisp and compelling value proposition that brings people to you. You're going to spend more time and resources trying to create lead generation and lead management. And I think everybody who's joined us today will agree that cold calling or cold spamming or cold outreach on LinkedIn is just a numbers game. The volume has to be incredibly high to get any sort of value out of it. And in the meantime, you're eroding your brand by annoying people. And number three, you have to work hard at this. We worked really hard in the last couple of months to put this formula together so that it could be easy, manageable, clearly understood by our customers. And the feedback we're getting is that it is, and it works. Here's how we view the world as we're tracking things at Marketing Copilot. We know that there's three distinct categories that you should be really thinking about your content and what you want to track and measure. There's the awareness category. Anything that's happening in the industry that promotes your company is awareness. Consideration is activities that people on your website or other places are going to come to so that you can capture that email address and understand whether they really are a prospect. And then, of course, there's tools that we use to convert. And from a marketing perspective, convert isn't turning them into a sales yet, but it is turning them into a sales qualified lead. And this is what more and more marketers have to wrap their heads around. Random, completely anonymous MQLs is not helping us generate revenue in today's economy. We really need to get to a point as marketers where we're doing the heavy lifting to figure out what our pipeline really looks like. And there's lots of activities that we put here, and we make people aware that a lot of them are not attributable. Some are attributable once they hit a touch point on our website or on our LinkedIn profile or at the conference we invited them to. But we have to keep in mind that a mix of all of these activities are really important. And marketers have to do a better job in the consideration and conversion category to help generate sales qualified leads. We think every person managing or running a B2B marketing in 2024 needs to have a dashboard to understand their funnel and gain the ability to measure high intent purposes. This justifies marketing and allows you to understand how much money to spend. And as a lifeline marketer, I know that those trips to the CFO's office to justify my budget were always painful ones. And now what I feel very enlightened and empowered by is the ability we have today to be able to track and measure things to show how marketing directly impacts the bottom line. And I think that when you use this formula, your CFO is going to be delighted. Something to consider as you're thinking about your conversion rate is that at any given moment when you reach out to people, There's people who will say, I love your value proposition and I want to buy this right now, which is obviously what your sales team loves to hear and what they're looking for. But there's people who say, I like your value proposition, but I'm not ready yet. And there's people on your list who say, I have no interest in your value proposition and I'll never buy. As we've looked at our close alignment of companies over the last 2 to 3 years, we know conclusively that the first one that we all want is only 1% of who might be engaging with us or coming on our website. What we think is really important for people in 2024 is to look at that number 2 category and really start to get a handle on whether or not we can capture passive interest and turn it into active interest. Obviously, the last category, not everyone's going to buy from us, but that doesn't mean they might not somewhere down the road. So this is the goal of a marketer today, is to really understand each one of those categories and how we impact revenue. If you want to get started on the formula, we highly encourage you to click this QR code and download the buyer persona workbook. It'll take you through an exercise to show you how to build a buyer persona for your organization. And then as we say, this is such an important step because without those triggers, you will be posting generic content. And in today's age of AI, the worst thing we can do is post generic content that doesn't map back to what our buyers care about and our value proposition. So please keep that in mind. This was our top 10 greatest hits list from 2024. Videos have become more and more popular, but 30-second videos that make an impact and make a statement are very important. We've noticed things like blog posts very related to questions asked in the buyer journey. Personal LinkedIn posts, monthly newsletters are back. 10 years ago, I wrote a blog about how newsletters weren't helpful, but now the ability to post interesting newsletters on places like LinkedIn is changing again. Changing up your lead magnet quarterly, confirming that primary CTA, which is more than just contact us, is very important on your website. Refining your authority, partnering and co-marketing with people, and establishing your voice online. We think that this is really important. I've just had a note come up from someone, and I do want to make one quick example of what you might want to do on LinkedIn. Our good friend Candace Edelin has a really fabulous course on using LinkedIn effectively and the right way to use LinkedIn. I think she might be on the call today, but Candace, thanks for being a fan of Marketing Copilot. And do check out Candace on LinkedIn and connect with her if you're struggling with your LinkedIn strategy. The growth formula is here for everybody to download. Please click this QR code and please make sure that you get the formula. There's a worksheet in there for you. It explains the formula in detail, what we mean by all of the different numeric and alpha symbols that we've used to create this formula. You'll get a full overview of it. So just quickly, let's review it. And I hope you have had a chance. I don't know if I left it up long enough, but please do click the QR code and download the formula. Let's just review it one more time. 1B times the sum of 3T times 3A plus 3P plus 3I plus 3E equals IR, increased revenue. And here's all the things that we think you need in your formula. If you'd like to bring me into your organization to present this to your management team, please snap the QR code and book a call with me. I would be more than happy to come in and educate your management team on how to use this. And if you're a marketer who's on the call today and is really struggling to show ROI with your organization, you might want to share this formula with them. And also, if you're a Microsoft partner, ISV, or somebody in the Microsoft channel who wants to understand how this formula can be applied to tools like Copilot AI, please contact me, because that's going to be our next effort here, is to show the world how this formula works in conjunction with AI. Thanks so much for joining us today. And we do have a special offer, and I want to put it out there for everyone before I ask if there's any questions. But for a limited time, we usually run buyer persona workshops at $5,000. And for anyone who wants to take advantage of documenting your buyer personas and really peeling back the onion on the value proposition, we have a limited time offer that if you sign up for a workshop before the 1st of May, we'll honor the price of $4,500. It can be booked after that, but we're offering you a discounted price today for being part of our big launch of the growth formula. Now, I have a comment here from Dawn, and thank you so much, Dawn. The IR formula is really interesting. I can see how it applies to helping my authors think about understanding their audience and marketing. Great. Thank you, Dawn, because I do think that this applies to many, many, many people in many, many industries. But I would agree that if you're launching a book, this is a fabulous book for you to consider. So do book a call with me if you'd like to book a workshop. And from all of us at Marketing Copilot, and I'm going to jump over for a second and see if there's any more questions. If anybody has any questions today they want to ask me, I'm more than happy to take questions at this point. But from all of us at Marketing Copilot, we have been working so hard on this. For the last 24 months, we've really tried to help customers wade through how they're going to improve customer acquisition for their organization. And we really believe this is the path forward, in conjunction with great tools and great resources like marketing automation from Influence, like LinkedIn programs from Candace Edelin, or like other tools that we've offered you today. So we hope that you will take advantage of this and be part of our network going forward. Do we have any more questions, Montana? I'm just watching the chat here and seeing it light up a little bit. I don't think we do. But once again, I want to thank you, and I want to honor my commitment of being in and out in 30 minutes. It was a lot to consume, but I hope you will have an opportunity to download that growth formula, and I'll leave it here on the screen, and start to fill in your own template. And as always, reach out to anyone at Marketing Copilot on LinkedIn or in email and let us know how it's going for your organization. Thank you so much, and thank you for being here.